Welcome to Front Page. France took a decisive step into one of the most controversial debates in technology and child well-being. Whether government should actually bar children from social media. Of course, this week, the French National Assembly approved a bill that would ban kids, under the age of 15 from using social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and others once the law goes into force. Likely by the start of the next school year in September 2026, after Senate approval, of course. The vote in the lower house was overwhelmingly in favor, with 130 MPs supporting and just 21 opposing the measure. President Emmanuel Macron has framed this as a protective measure. His government cites concerns about screen addiction and mental health, pointing to data from France's health watchdog, suggesting that about 90% of children aged 12 to 17 use smartphones daily and that 58% of them use social networks on those very devices. In a 2024 poll, 73% of the French public backed a ban on social media access for under 15-year-olds. Supporters argue that early exposure to algorithm-driven feeds can fuel anxiety, cyberbullying, and risky behaviors, while critics worry that a blanket ban is too harsh a measure, raising questions about freedom of expression, digital exclusion, and how realistically such rules can be enforced. France would be, of course, only the second country in the world to adopt this kind of a blanket restriction. Australia became the first back in December 2025 when it enacted a law preventing minors under 16 from holding social media accounts. Within weeks, Australian authorities said they had deactivated about 4.7 million accounts belonging to users believed to be under that age. That law itself has sparked debate down under. Surveys showed strong public support, often above 60 to 70%, but a majority of Australians expressed doubts about how effective it actually will be in protecting kids. Now, other governments from United Kingdom to India are watching closely, weighing whether the risks of social networks outweigh the rights of young people to connect, learn, and express themselves online. Against this global backdrop, we are joined by Jeet Lahiri, an ex-Meta executive with over 21 years of experience across marketing, content, and platform strategy. He, of course, has been a part of the core team that launched Instagram Reels in India, helped shape the creator ecosystem, and previously spent a decade at Ogilvy and DDB, leading award-winning teams across regions. Welcome to the show, Jeet. How are you doing? Wonderful to have you with us on Front Page.
Hi, Sudhi. Thank you so much. I hope I'm visible and everything is loud and clear.
Absolutely. You're looking wonderful and extremely confident to answer all of my questions and try to dig deeper as far as how real is the harm social media poses to kids? Are we reacting to solid evidence, or is this general growing anxiety around technology?
Couple of interesting debates here. See, if you actually go by external studies which have been done in and around social media and the impact on children, third-party studies seem to clearly show that the effect is only negative on children. So it has been stated across multiple studies. There is cognitive decline, there is impact on body and mental health issues. The list just goes on. There's no end to it. They literally find not many positives when you check for things which is from external studies. Now, it's up for debate whether tech companies at all research these as a factor internally. Because you have to understand, even if they do research it, it's not really public or common knowledge across an entire tech company. So there was no study that I was privy to within Meta, which particularly had explored the impact of tech on children and what was happening there. Now, it is left up to the leaders to decide why they have not researched it. Perhaps it did not align with business interests. And secondly, if you do research something, the data needs to be made public. So unless one is compelled to research something, perhaps they do not do so. So that is also up there. So is there any clear laid evidence
Hmm.
From my times in Meta, where I was there for 7.5 years, or at least I did not see any studies done by Meta on children where they have studied the effects of it. So if there was, I was not privy to it. Is there external evidence on things whether there is a negative impact on children? Clearly, there is, because so many
Hmm.
studies at the same time cannot be wrong. So I don't know if I could answer your question properly, or if you would like to ask a follow-up question on the same.
No, I think
Very,
you've been
very
very,
clear on this for sure, Jeet. I mean, you've not held any punches as far as that is concerned. But very quickly, of course, we've established the fact that all the effects are negative. But then the question comes, Jeet, in terms of practically speaking, how hard is it for platforms to enforce an under 15 ban? The point is, age checks, privacy, kids finding workarounds. What actually happens once a law like this kicks in? It's the implementation aspect, which I want you to probably dig deep on with me.
Absolutely. I mean, so that's a great question. So let's just understand a little bit of the context here. So from what I recall, there are about 3.6 billion unique users on Meta. When I was around, the number of employees in Meta was around 70,000. There's news of layoffs every year. I would be very surprised if the number of employees is more than 50,000 currently. Now, these employees would include everyone from programmers to partnership managers to people who are checking on terrorism, etc. Now, imagine, let's think of a best case scenario. Let's imagine it is the same number of employees what it was pre-layoffs, which was 70,000 people looking at 3.6 billion people ka data. And by the way, YouTube is also considered social media. So it would mean somewhere that a Google would also have to take a look at the kind of stuff which is going up to on YouTube, which is over there, right? So I mean, so that's another company in itself, which is a behemoth in itself, etc., where you have access to other kinds of content which is going up there. And then there are other ancillary companies like Snap, which caters to over 200 million users in India itself. And they have the highest number of people who are in the Gen Z segment, which is around 19-year-olds and young. So there are a lot of these tech companies. So you're talking one of implementation across tech companies. It's not one company. Secondly, like you rightly said, there's no silver bullet. So what do you depend on when the number of users itself on a company is so big? You depend on existing data which a user, that is you, I, our children, have entered when they have first registered onto these platforms. That would be their date of birth.
First I'm so sorry if I'm breaking your train of thought, but because of paucity of time, I would really request you if we could navigate a lot quicker, because I need to ask you a couple of more things. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I'm thinking, so you're dependent on things like AI and the data that people put in by themselves. And that would primarily mean that you're dependent on the data that you or I have entered. And that becomes the benchmark for a company to keep you on a platform or not keep you on a platform, which means ultimately the ownership perhaps lies a little with us and less with the companies, because they'll just say, oh, date of birth, so they had entered 18, so they must be an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. What's the risk, according to you, in terms of a ban like this backfiring? You know, I'm just talking very simple common sense, the kind of withdrawals that could happen in terms of the fact that will it push kids to darker, less regulated spaces because you've just taken all of that entire attention span away from them? Or is it going to change how they grow up online in ways we are not prepared for?
Of course, yes. So
you have two children as well.
Yes,
so,
of course.
I mean,
15 and 5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, without a doubt, kids will find their own ways to communicate with other children, and they'll do it in the digital space. They'll go on to things like perhaps a Telegram, which is far less regulated, or a WhatsApp, or some other tool. They will always find their way. Or they'll use VPN and go on log in through another country. Nothing changes for them on a practical ground because they are far smarter than we parents ever will be. So, ways, and in fact they'll find ways to hide it from others and do it, because that's simply how the world always has been. Kids are by default rebels, and rebels work best on a digital world.
Fair enough. So
that one thought is the fact that the parent finally bears the ultimate responsibility. And of course, being a parent yourself, I would like to ask you, given the fact that other countries are looking at this very closely, what should India do?
Oh, India should. So So, as a parent, my answer is India should definitely find a way to regulate things for children. But it's also a problem. I mean, there are also other studies which indicate that it's a problem of the poor rather than the rich, because the rich can afford to send their children to tennis classes and golfing lessons and other things.
Fair,
But the poorer
fair.
you are, you hand them an iPad or an iPhone and let them be busy. So it's effectively their nanny, not too good a nanny which is out there. So it's convenient for parents to hand over a phone. Let's face it. And will a parent want to
Fair
let
enough.
go of convenience?
I'm so sorry,
Perhaps not.
Jeet. I'll
cut you
have to
through,
cut
but
you
I believe you've made a very, very pertinent point. It was wonderful having you with us on Front Page. Again, sincere apologies because of the paucity of time. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Jeet Lahiri. Of course, we're going to bring him back again as this debate continues. But this is what we feel on Front Page. If governments can decide when children can drive, vote or drink, should they also set boundaries for when kids go online? That's exactly what probably Jeet was talking about. France believes some limits are necessary. Whether that leads to safer digital spaces for children or simply shifts responsibility and risk elsewhere is actually the conversation the world is now starting to have. This is Front Page, ladies and gentlemen. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think about your children, think AIM.